Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week with an episode on a life built on values with special guest, my mother, Kathleen, or Kathy Lindberg, or Mrs. L to many. Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week again with information on life, leadership, business, and family, helping to build your values and principles so that you can be the best version of you. And again, this week we have a very special guest, my mother, Kathy Lindberg. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time, just haven't been able to pull it off. But here we are. So we're going to come to you actually with 5 episodes from this marvelous lady and see what wisdom she can impart on us and me, as well as you all listening. Although, as I tell people, I grew up in a household. My mother's also a lay minister, and she taught me, I don't know, about every year of growing up, and especially in junior high and high school, I was an ornery kid, and anytime in band or vocal, we would get periodic sermons, and she would set the baton down, and away she would go with her sermon, and then we'd be done, and I would tell my classmates or buddies, I get them not only here, but I get the sermon here, and then I get the sermon at home.
Lucky devil.
And I needed every one of them. But my mother, she was a 39-year band and vocal instructor, first vocal, and then her last, 20 years of your career, band and vocal, roughly in there.
Yeah, 26, I think.
And then she was so good at it, she got put in the Hall of Fame. And so she is a Hall of Fame music educator, which very few people can say they're a member of a Hall of Fame, and I have great respect for those people that get inducted into various Hall of Fames, because that means you are the best of the best, and that's also partially why she is on here. So we talk about a life built on values, a very illustrious 39-year professional career, a very long marriage with your husband who's sitting over there, and a life well lived. But as we think about values and core values, and when I coach businesses on building a set of core values, if they don't have them, or if they have them, how do they enforce them? But many people want to overcomplicate them or overthink them, and so then when I get to the root of it, I just ask them, all right, what were the values and principles that your parents taught you? What were the values and principles that they taught you starting at a very young age that you remember? And so for you, that would be, my first question to you today, as you think about the life you've built on your values, because I know you're very strongly rooted in your values. But what were some of those values that Fred and Grace George taught you?
Well, I would have to say that it was work. From a young age, I was always helping in some way, whether it would be in the house or whether it would be outside of the house. One of my first farm jobs was gathering eggs. And if the chickens messed up the eggs, one got broke, then straw and whatever would be on those eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have to wash those and clean them up, because we took our eggs to town and sold them in crates, that had like 24 across. And then when I was a little bit older in the summer, I was sent to the pasture to bring the milk cows home. So they would be there for Dad to milk. I was not good at milking, and so I escaped that job, thankfully. But I had to go get them, which was kind of, I guess I was kind of a dreamer type person. And so going to the pasture, I would stop and see how the cactus were doing, and devil's claws.
The musician coming out of you.
It was
Yes.
picking the devil's claws because there are seeds in there, and my brother and I would soak the seeds in salt water and bake them, and then they were just like sunflower seeds to us. In the house, I was responsible to make my bed when I got up, and I had to help in preparing meals, cleaning up. When I was in the fifth grade, mother was giving piano lessons, and I would be cooking supper. So when she got finished and dad came in and my brother and my sister, supper would be ready to go. So I was doing those kind of things, and I guess I told someone as an adult that work is fun. Fun is work, is how it always kind of seemed to me.
Yeah.
We had a windmill, and so our water was pumped by the wind blowing, and that would be when we got the water. And we had cattle, and if there were cattle down by the barn and the wind didn't blow, I can tell you that we were told that, the cattle need water too. So we needed to be very careful in our use of the water. We were not just turning on the faucets. So I lived, I guess some people would think, a stricter life. I did never think of it that way. I mean, to me, being on the farm was a great place to
It was
to
normal.
be.
Yeah.
And Winston and I would play in the ditches and have our own farm, and he would build implements, and that's kind of the kind of life I grew up with.
So your number one core value is hard work.
It is.
Work hard.
Yes.
Yeah. And have some fun. What next? What other values did your parents teach you, or what other values are non-negotiable to you that you've lived your life by?
Well, I guess I would have to say that I was raised in a home where faith was a very important value, where I can remember one day we were having a bad hailstorm, rainstorm. We're standing in the screened-in porch, and I can see the rake sailing down the pasture east of our house and up the hill and out of
In Rush County.
sight. And my mom is probably saying something like, "Oh, and the hail," and we hadn't harvested yet. And of
Yeah.
course, that was our big time of year to harvest the wheat. And my dad stood there and said, the Lord will provide whatever we need. And I think that one comment of my father has stuck with me my entire life. When I was older, in high school, I started driving the truck when I had a license to go to town. And so I was out there being the driver for wheat harvest. And then when I got in college, I agreed with my dad that I would be the hired man, and the hired man he had seemed to be tearing up all the equipment. And so I said, just let him go and I'll do it. I'll get up and go to the field whatever time you say. I'll go as long as you want. And that will be my way of paying for my college education.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And in that time, it was really a wonderful time. We had some pipe irrigation, and so I would be with my dad helping on that. And so my dad and I would be together various times in the pickup, and he was very good at saying things like, your mother is kind of a quiet person. She doesn't come out and speak to people. And he said, that is something you really need to cultivate. I see this same thing in you. And so when you go into a group of people, everybody has kids, and they love to talk about their kids. So you ask them about their kids or what they did today, or he gave me different ideas of how to deal with walking into that room and speaking to the people. Didn't make any difference if I knew them or not.
Yeah.
I needed to step up and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought that was one of the luxuries of working for Dad, that we had those moments when when I got ready to go to college. Mom took me. I didn't have a car, and Dad comes from wherever to tell me goodbye that morning, and he stands there by the window of the car and he goes, "Kathy, if Jesus walks in wherever you are and you can see him and know it's him, and you walk over and say, 'Come on over and sit down with us and I'll introduce you to my friends,' if you're very comfortable doing that, and what you're doing you think would be most acceptable to him, you're in good shape." I went, "Okay."
So you've talked about work hard, hard work. You've talked about faith. In a roundabout way, you've talked about communication outside of your comfort zone, but also that translates to when you're talking to people about their family and their kids. That's also caring.
Right.
And then the fourth one you just said there, I really equilibrate that. To me, that equals high character, high integrity.
Right. And they did always say, you need to treat people the way you want to be treated.
The golden rule.
Right.
Yeah.
And, that was just something I just lived by.
So we've got work hard,
Yeah.
faith, be a faithful servant,
Right.
stepping out of your comfort zone, communicating, caring for others. What did I say the fourth one was? Uh, um, oh,
Character.
integrity.
Yes.
If you can invite
Okay.
Jesus to where you're at and you're
Yes.
good with that, high character, high integrity. And then your fifth one that you just said, John, the golden rule.
Yeah, the golden rule.
So those are, go ahead, you were going to say something.
Yeah, and then with money, I got an allowance when I was young for doing probably gathering eggs or washing the separator. That was another thing I did. I love to wash those little cups where everything filters through. But it was like 20 or 25 cents, and I had to give 10 cents to church in the offering plate, a nickel to Sunday school, and then that left me, a dime. And so when we went to the grocery store in Alexander, sunflower seeds were a nickel a pack. I love sunflower seeds. Then I got my sunflower seeds.
So good financial stewardship.
Right.
Yeah, because the good Lord, everything we have is not ours, it's His, and we're just stewards
Right.
of those
We're
things.
stewards
So
of
as we
it.
think about those six things, or maybe you have something else, what's been the hardest value in your brain to live consistently by?
Treat others the way you want to be treated. Because, if a member of our family, someone says something bad about them, it's your reaction, a mother of you kids, you want to fight back.
Yeah.
You want to take them to task.
Or be
or-
defensive.
Or if
lash
they
out.
say something about your husband, about, let's say, his working, your dad worked in the bank and he's on the other side of the desk. And, if you hear something derogative said, you want to put them in their place because they don't know. The problem is everybody has a story.
Correct.
And in that story, everybody comes out and speaks because of the story they have. And I'm thinking about someone I heard speaking, and it was a mother about the daughter, and she was offended by how it had been, and I thought, yeah, we all have our times that we feel like maybe our child got ripped and they didn't receive what they should have, and we all have that. But the
Yeah.
point is, if you come back at them, will it do any good?
Yeah. Most of
And
the time
maybe
not.
does that person need grace?
Not in that moment.
Right.
All right, let's keep moving.
Okay.
What is a value you think my generation or a younger generation is losing or not living up to that we should be doing?
Yeah, I just really think the young generation, they don't have the work ethic that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And the loss of that is that work ethic created some great things in me, some
Yeah.
great values,
You climbed mountains and it made you who you are.
right.
An incredible human being
Gave me fight, I
and
think.
purpose.
Yes, and purpose that they don't have because,
Yeah.
well, I'm just not going to work that hard.
Yeah.
And anything good takes hard work.
Yeah. So we talk about this periodically, routinely. Kel hears me, or we've done it on. We did one recently on work-life balance, and I told you all there is none. When you're going for big, hairy, audacious goals, big things, trying to make big impact, there is none. But you have to prepare your family for that. You have to talk to them and talk them through the seasons, and they have to be understanding, and it's not easy, as you've seen me do, right, with my family. But it's the challenge. But be present when you are there,
Right.
and be intentional about being there, and not just always. It's just about you and your work and building what you're building. It's still about your family. But
Well, it would be the same thing when we were in the season of a musical at Lewis.
mhm.
And one time your dad said, and it was all over. And when it's over, I'm always kind of glowing in the wonderful things that happen. But then I'm kind of lonely that I'm not going back to school, to have that nightlife with students. And I just his remark just made me stop and think. But the family has been waiting, and
Yeah.
especially Ron, because you kids went through 4 years of being connected to that,
Mhm.
and so yeah, it was good. It was over. It was
So I've got one more question for you.
okay.
What is one value you think your son needs to work on? Earlier I told her I was going to ask that. She's like, well, he may not want to hear that. Or do you want your audience to hear that? I'm an open book. It's all good.
Well, Nels, I think that you're a wonderful man. You've really been a great husband and father through Nash's tragedy. And you really carried the torch for strength that needed to be carried. And the day you were fighting the morning to get insurance and get everything in line so that ambulance could go to Nebraska, I saw a man of great strength. So that's a really wonderful thing. My dad, for all the things he said to me, that I have tried to carry on and pass on to you and my mother, they would have been so proud. And so now I think for you that you need to think about some rest time for being the mighty torch carrier. And it's okay that you do that. But now, I look at your kids and I think how proud I am of them.
Yeah.
And they're about to step out the door, and I think they're ready.
Oh yeah.
You know, they have that glow of being ready. Like I say, seniors always get, and then the parents can let them go easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now you get to enjoy.
Yeah. 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 I got to get better at that. So we're back to some work-life balance, but.
Right. And you get to have a little extra special time with your wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you can go ahead and take that time.
I'll work on it.
Okay.
So this one's a little longer. The next ones will be longer than normal. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you've learned something from a very wise lady that will be coming back to you next week with more information on her professional life and life in general beyond values and kids and those sort of things. So I'm glad you joined us. We hope you like this content. Subscribe here if you like it. Thanks for joining us, friends. We'll see you next week.